I would like to welcome the public officers who are in attendance. So I would like to ask the administration to walk us through the paper. Would it be the Secretary, Mr. Paul Chen? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, first of all, sorry, our officers have to come from different venues. It doesn't matter. In fact, we are early. So this item is about the amendments to the Central District Extension Outline Zoning Plan in relation to the Central Military Dock. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, let me say this seriously again. As pointed out by the CE in a recent question and answer session at the Legislative Council, military facilities are part of the defense function. The people of Hong Kong should support it. In relation to the Central Military Dock, well, in fact, in 1994, when Britain and China reached an agreement on the defense land, it was already included, and that's part of the military facilities for the function of defense. A few months ago, in relation to the Central District Outline Zoning Plan, we would like to move some technical amendments so as to complete the procedure, which has been outstanding for more than 10 years. Somebody have pointed out that it should be objected to. Well, they have ignored the history, the nature, as well as the origin of the matter. The British garrison used to have a naval basin and dedicated dock facilities so that the British garrison could reach the Victoria Harbour directly. And then upon the handover, the Hong Kong garrison may lose the dock facilities as a result of the central reclamation. Therefore, the DLA, the Defence Land Agreement, made it clear that a naval basin should be provisioned on the south shore of Stonecutters Island, and a military dock be provisioned near the central barracks. After reunification, the Hong Kong Special Administrative Region Government is responsible for taking forward the construction of the CMD and the associated facilities at the Central Harbourfront. For the location as well as the design, from planning, funding, and the UDS of the new Hong Kong Central Harbourfront, as well as the promenade construction. Well, since 1998, there were a number of occasions for discussion and debate, lasting for over 15 years. And in fact, throughout the period, different political parties took part in the discussion, and there were records in the Legislative Council. Recently, we have already made it clear to the public again as to the nature of the issue. So, to have a new military dock, I think historically, legally, procedurally, it is beyond doubt. According to the garrison law, the defense function would include the management of the military facilities. Like other military facilities, the CMD is to be managed by the PLA in Hong Kong and to be used by the Hong Kong garrison. So if anybody is to doubt as to whether the Hong Kong garrison should manage this military site, is ignoring the sovereignty of the government as well as the provisions in the garrison law. The Hong Kong garrison has been tying in with the efforts of the Hong Kong SARG. As early as year 2000, there was already a commitment. That is, when the CMD is not in military use, and having considered its operation and the need to protect the dock, the site will be open to the public for the enjoyment by the public. This is for the interests of the people of Hong Kong. It is out of goodwill. I want to point out that before the handover, there was a military dock outside the British garrison's military site. It was never open to the public, whether it was used or not. Now, upon reunification, there was a need for reclamation, and therefore, right in front of the central barracks, we could not have direct berthing of vessels. Now, we are going to reprovision the CMD so that there will be access from the CMD to the central barracks. I think it is lawful and reasonable and is in line with the defense functions. The Hong Kong garrison has already agreed that when it is not in military use, the military dock site will be open to the public for the public enjoyment. This is a option to respond to the aspirations of all quarters. The current design of the CMD has already reflected the desire to integrate with the new waterfront promenade as well as tying in with the purpose. We can't ignore the need to have this military dock as the military facilities for the purpose of defense. This cannot be ignored. We can't make use of other excuses to deny this fact. We shouldn't veto the previous discussion. We shouldn't query whether the site should be used for military purpose. If you were to do that, then you ignore the nature, origin, and history of the whole issue. Well, somebody has pointed out that the PLA is merely a guess. If they are to set up a military dock in the central, it is like occupying the central. And it is less than 3,000 square meters, and in fact there are only 4 small structures, just a few hundred meters square. But then they're saying there is 3-story massive buildings, like half the IFC, taking up the entire waterfront, saying that it will be a massive bulky building. They are also saying that the Hong Kong government should not allow the PLA to occupy the central waterfront, and saying that the public can no longer enjoy the waterfront. I think it is putting the cart before the horse, and it is scaremongering. I must emphasize that it is a serious diplomatic agreement. It is for national defense, and in fact the Hong Kong garrison has already promised that when it is not in military use, it will be open to the public as part of the waterfront promenade for enjoyment. It is again a serious promise, a solemn promise. I think the design and the opening arrangement, when compared with the previous case during the British rule, it is more open. You see 4 small single-story structure measuring about 4 meters tall, quite unlike the passenger terminals when you used to have 2 stories, and there isn't any major or large machinery. What you see now, in fact, would be what it will be like when handed over to the Hong Kong garrison. The Hong Kong garrison has no plan and will not have any additional structures or construction work at the CMD. So please don't have any misunderstanding. Don't be suspicious or hostile when you issue the proposal to amend the OZP. I will be more than happy to answer questions from members. All right. Floor is open to members for questions. I suggest that they will each have 4 minutes, including the answer from the administration. The first one, I will read down the names: Kenneth Chen, Michael Tian, Gary Chen, Albert Chen, KK Kwok, James Tian, Claudia Mo, Raymond Chen, Leung Chi Chang, and Mr. Yip Kok Him, and KK Fong, in that order. Kenneth Chen. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is the 28th of May. I hope those who are watching this live and who are interested in this matter before midnight today write to the Town Planning Board to object to the rezoning. Well, it used to be an open space for our public enjoyment. This is the waterfront. 0.3 hectares of land, there's 3,000 square meters, will be resumed as military use. Mr. Chairman, I have already tabled a motion. Thank you for reading it out. I hope this panel will vote against this amendment proposal. I would like to keep this as a public open space in the central. I think the secretary is very anxious. I think he's more like a Beijing official, and he's saying that he has criticized us, and we have been criticized for starting a storm in the teacup, and then I've been warned that I may be hurting the innocent. I don't think you need to adopt such a high-profile position in dealing with such a town planning process. On the other hand, some other officials have been telling us that Kenneth, it is but a technical amendment. I don't need to bother myself with it. Mr. Chairman, it's nothing like a technical amendment. What we're saying is that in the future, for the central waterfront, not too far away from the Legislative Council, there will be a site permanently earmarked for the PLA for its management permanently. So what is the legal basis to allow them to have management over our public open space? Yes, according to the garrison law, they're supposed to manage the military facilities. All the military facilities currently are restricted areas. We can't go there. Now, if you say that they will be generous, they will open it to us, well, I don't think we should be swapping the concepts. All along for the water promenade, when we are told that we'll have first-class waterfront for the public enjoyment, that's what we have been promised. I think the place that we are in used to be the Tamar Basin. We have been told that this will be returned to the Hong Kong government for redevelopment. What has been reserved is but 150 meters long waterfront. When necessary, the PLA will be allowed to use it. So all along, my understanding has been like this. The Hong Kong government will continue to manage this site on behalf of the public of Hong Kong. And if necessary, the PLA will be given assistance to use it. Now, what happens is that there is a well-paved road all the way leading up to the main door of the PLA building. And then it is said that if necessary, there will be traffic arrangements. Why can't we apply the same to the site measuring 0.3 hectares? How come that you have to hand over the management to the Hong Kong garrison? Now, the Secretary for Development has said that we have been given a commitment. We should trust in it. I don't think it's a matter of religion. It is not whether we have faith or not. It is simple. It is a town planning issue. Once you've given it to them, if something happens, what happens up there is beyond our control. I mean, what they want to put up on top of the site, it is beyond our control. According to the garrison law, they have the final say. And in fact, Section 13 of the Garrison Law has reproduced something in the Thunder Bridges Agreement. That is, the military site will be for military use, and it cannot be transferred to others. It cannot be used by others for non-military use. It's no longer needed for defense purpose. It should be handed over to the Hong Kong government. Yeah. Mr. Chen, so how come that you say that we are being outrageous? How come that you say that we are stirring up storm in the teacup? I think you are asking for the trouble. I hope members will understand me clearly and support my motion. Secretary, he didn't ask a question. He was merely expressing his opinion. Mr. Michael Tian. Mr. Chairman, all the information shows that in 1994, the British government and the Chinese government talked about the arrangements for the future use of the military sites, including the current site. And in fact, the Prince of Wales Barracks has now become the Central Barracks. And in fact, the Hong Kong government should leave free 150 meters of the eventual permanent waterfront in the plans for the construction of a military dock. I'm not a historian. If this is really the case, if this was what was agreed before the handover, then if we are to reopen the debate, what is the justification? What is the rationale? Of course, members may have different views, the government may have a different opinion. But for the citizens that have come across, I think they are most interested to ask this question. It was only put to use at most 4 times since the handover. In other words, it was seldom used. Now here, probably they use it for a stretch of a few days on every occasion. Now, what you're saying is that it belongs to them, and then otherwise it will be open to us. Can we not sort of turn it the other way? They have it, and then it will be, it will be open for the long term. If they want to use it, then they have to put up a sign to say that for a number of days it will not be sort of open to the public. I think the psychological impact would be very different. Can you not consider such an arrangement? And then, if anything happens there, I want to know who will be enforcing the law. Would it be the laws of Hong Kong or what? When the site is open to the public, if an incident takes place, will the Hong Kong police be enforcing the law? Will we be enforcing the laws of Hong Kong? I think for the citizens of Hong Kong, I think they're most interested in such questions. Can you not give an answer? Secretary, maybe the Deputy Secretary can answer the question. Yes, Mr. Chen. Well, let me supplement for the CMD. Well, in the past, when there was this defense land agreement in Annex 3, a number of military buildings and fixed facilities to be reprovisioned were included. Item 5 is the military dock in the Central. So we have already reproduced the relevant part of the DLA. In relation to the Central District Extension OZP, we are now moving a technical amendment. So in the year 2000, the plan already marks that at the site in question there will be a military dock, and it is clearly spelled out that it will be a berth of about 115 meters, subject to further detailed design. So this technical amendment is needed because after such a long period of time during which we have discussion, we have already confirmed the design and the construction is almost completed. No, I think my 2 questions haven't been answered. My time has run out. I don't think it's answering my questions. So I would like him to confirm whether that's the correct understanding or not. Yes, let me answer Mr. Chen's question. According to the garrison law, they included this function of managing the military facilities. So the CMD, like other military facilities, will be a military site and a military facility. But then, when the military dock is not in use, the military dock site will be open to the public as part of the waterfront promenade. We will liaise with them and we will announce the arrangements. So we'll promise to take up my idea, that is, it should be open to the public on a long-term basis. Well, for the military dock, it by nature is a military facility to be managed and used by the Hong Kong garrison. But then, in Hong Kong, whether we're talking about public or private place, when the law and order is breached, then the Hong Kong police force may enforce the law. So it is not a matter of having a legal vacuum taking place at the military dock site. When it is open to the public, the Hong Kong laws would apply, and then the Hong Kong police force can also enforce the laws of Hong Kong. Other government departments will also have the power to enforce the law. Mr. Gary Chen, as many members have already said, it was in 1994 that it was first discussed, and it went on for a period of time. Recently, in the community, there has been some discussion about the central military dock. The Secretary came today, and the paper made it clear that it is going to take up 0.3 hectares instead of 10 plus hectares on which you can put up a lot of buildings. I want the Secretary to clarify a few points to the public. Just now it has been said that if the site is to be given to the Hong Kong garrison, they will have a free hand to put up whatever they like on the site measuring 0.3 hectares. Would it be like that? And then the members of the public would like to know whether they can conveniently go there to enjoy the public open space. I think it's already said in the paper, when it is not in military use, it will be open to the public as part of the waterfront promenade. So when you say that when it is not in military use, how are we going to understand it and to make a decision that it is not in military use? Does it mean that we don't have a naval vessel, then it is not in military use? Does it mean that we can then freely go there?
Actually, for the past few years, it was only 3 or 4 times, not too many. But perhaps there is a scenario where the garrison said that they will have to use the military dock even if there is no battleship, and then public cannot use it. Hope that the Secretary can clarify these couple of points. Our first point, Mr. Chairman, about the OZP. There's a height restriction. MPD. It's a 10 MPD. About the structures to be built is still regulated according to this. Actually, the 2 MPD actually on land. So for the present structures, it's just 1 story, okay, 4 meters high. Secondly, as I said in the opening remarks, the garrison has said that they don't have plans to have other structures on that site. As for the use of it, Mr. Michael Tian asked a question. I'd like to supplement that. This is a military dock, so it's a military facility according to garrison law. The garrison will manage it. It will use it. So for the military dock, about the manager, that is the garrison. Now, in this discussion, the garrison considers public aspiration about the use of the waterfront. So in year 2000, it was promised that if the site is not in military use, then the place will be opened up for public use. For the military dock, you can look at the design. It will integrate with the waterfront situation. Of course, at different stages of study, public was consulted. Mr. Chen mentioned the use of military activities. Perhaps this colleague can supplement that. Yes, for military use, this person said that, normally speaking, for military use of military dock, say they can include the berthing of battleship, military ceremonies, military training, or the maintenance and repair work of the military dock. So apart from all this, for the rest of the time, actually, the dock can be considered for opening up for public use. Of course, military use is military use. If there's a special situation, if there's an emergency situation, it's very hard for me to list out all the scenarios here. Mr. Chen, I think the Secretary sounds heroic is unlike how he answered questions about subdivided flats, about drunk driving, and about the issue of Barry Zhang. It seems that Secretary today is possessed by the PLA. He speaks on behalf of the PLA. We are talking about Hong Kong land. You want the PLA, you can go back to join the army on the mainland. Don't sound heroic. We are talking about planning. We are talking about the land use here. We look at history. We have been following up on this for years. I've checked the past papers. Of course, in 1997 and after 1997, there was a pledge that for certain sites they were to be used by the PLA, but it had never been said that the land was allocated to the PLA. No, the paper of 202, Central Reclamation. 0203, paper 41 of PWSC. He said that 150 meters in length of the waterfront is for use by the PLA. It's for use by PLA. The land is not allocated to the PLA. Actually, we're talking about public use. First is for the use of the PLA. It does not mean that the land is allocated to the PLA. It's very clear about the legal agreement. Actually, the public is being cheated or being of the fact being in the situation that they do not know the truth. So there's some questions here. Secondly, LegCo has given a lot of funding on many occasions regarding this about the Central Harbourfront. It's about the land use. Now, one is about the land owner, one is about planning. Actually, the British Army owned it. Then, for the parts owned by the British Army, it gave up, and then the land was turned into commercial use. That is what Jim Thatcher. Even for PLA, you can give up the land. British Army also gave up the land. If you look at the plans in the past, the Central Harbourfront concept plan, LegCo gave funding for promenade. You can check the papers. PLA is not mentioned. Now, if Winston Chu wants a judicial review, well, we can say that at that time, the waterfront was given back to the Hong Kong people. It's not said that the PLA was an exception. For the past 10 years, when we talk about the planning for harbourfront, you can look at all the papers of LegCo, all the plans. Not a single site is reserved to a PLA. Is it true that the Hong Kong government now wants to pull the wool over the eyes of Hong Kong people? That was in the period of Donald Trump. Talk about C.Y. Leung, his Hong Kong Communist ruling, and Mr. Paul Chen is the hatchet man. Anyway, there's continuity in terms of funding by LegCo. We have had reasons and arguments that were convincing. We give hundreds of millions of dollars for the central waterfront. That was said that the waterfront was given back to Hong Kong people, not to the PLA. Please do not distort the facts. You're not well versed in the planning. Please don't be the spokesman for PLA. This is LegCo. This is not PLA facilities. Time's up. Well, go away. I don't have time to answer, Mr. Chairman. You don't know what planning is, Paul Chen. Now, please put on the record that Mr. Chen is talking about part of the paper. He's not talking about all the facts. You're not the spokesman of PLA, Paul Chen. Okay, order, please. Next member, Mr. Kokake. Yes, I think the secretary is being possessed today. So that at every stage you talk about discussion. Okay, in 1994 I was at the Central Western District, the District Council. In 2003 I was with the Blue Ribbon campaign. when Mrs. Carrie Lam was in the position, Mr. Michael Soon said that the use was for public use. You can see the slogans. People say that is for active use of the Hong Kong people. Now you're actually cheating Hong Kong people. And the papers talk about birthing. Actually, over more than 10 years, they use it just a few times. Now you're putting people on the spot, putting citizens on the spot, and you're putting the PLA on the spot. Now, Secretary, have you talked to PLA? Is it true that they really want it for military use? Actually, this place is not very useful for the PLA. If there are enforcement actions, you know that the PLA uses the garrison law for enforcement. People may walk by. If there are certain incidents, then the government will really put itself in a very difficult situation. You want the PLA to enforce the law, people will complain. But if you do not ask the PLA to enforce the law, then the PLA will try to catch you. They are not happy about that. So if you turn it into military use, it's wrong. Now, Secretary, you said that you have consulted the public. Well, we have had papers. But where did people say that they agreed that the place should be for military use? Okay, you attach importance to public views. You can do one thing. About the change for military use, when did you ask the Hong Kong citizens about the use of this site? Did they agree that it is for military use? Secretary? Mr. Chairman, we can say that for military dock, the PLA needs it for military use. As from what Mr. Ka-lok said, so when we ask the public, perhaps the Deputy Secretary will talk about that. I want data. Actually, we have had consultations. When did public agree to the use of for military purposes? Yes, the paper says that for the military dock, on many public occasions, the point was made and things were put on record. Central extension was set be in the year 2000. It was set out clearly that the military dock would be in a certain location. At that time, the details of the military dock was not firmed up. So for the plan, there was just a straight line, subject to detailed design. So that was indicated. And as some members mentioned, in June 2002, we applied to LegCo for implemented works of Central Reclamation Phase 3. The scope of work stated that a berth of about 150 meters would be built for use by the PLA. And in 2007, when we answered the question from LegCo, it was said that if the dock is not for military use, there will be some opening up arrangements. And then for 2008, for the urban design study, the UDS, there was public engagement, and we said to the public that the military dock would be in a certain location, and we give an account of the design, etc. And about the public engagement digest and the report, it also mentioned the military dock, and the military dock's size was mentioned. And for the public engagement digest, the location and the design was also mentioned. And then for 2010, we consulted the Central Western District Council and also the Harbourfront Commission's Task Force on Harbourfront Developments on Hong Kong Island in terms of the promenade. And also the design of the military dock was also mentioned. For 2012, Central Western District Councillors and also the Harbourfront Commission's Task Force members paid a site visit, and we also briefed them. So on many occasions, on public occasions, we had some discussion on this. This is very important. Just now I asked the materials, but he just cited the description. It's just distorting public opinion. They talk about public use of the military dock, but not military land. When did you mention military land? Okay, time's up. Mr. James Tan. The Liberal Party thinks that for this issue, after reunification, the Hong Kong SAR is just an island on the south of China, where people declare war on us, where people invade us. Of course, for today's world, of course, it's not quite possible. But how about one country, two systems? How about sovereignty? Of course, there's need to manifest sovereignty. So, in principle, the Liberal Party supports the plan of the government. We talk about the promenade, the use of the promenade, about the military land, etc. Of course, people may have other perspectives. Now, for the PLA in Hong Kong, actually, they don't ask money from us, unlike the British garrison. Say for other countries like Singapore, in a year they spend a lot of money on military facilities, etc. Of course, the expenditure on people's livelihood, on welfare and medical expenses, it will be less. But we don't have to spend on national defense, so we can have more resources to help the disadvantaged groups in Hong Kong on issues of people's livelihood. So we have to look at this in perspective. Now, for the actual operation, Mr. Michael Tian has asked a good question. Perhaps you put it the other way around. Okay, for most of the time it is open. Even military use is few and far between, and if they do not use it, then it's for public use. And if it is for military use, then they can give a few days' notice. I think if you put it this way, then people will find it easier to accept it. And it is unlike when you say it is mainly for military use. Now, I have some specific questions. According to the projection, in a year, 365 days, they use it for military purposes. Perhaps it's just a few days. Can you make some projection? Say in a year's time, perhaps 10 days for restricted use, and people cannot use it. So perhaps people can use it for more than 300 days. So if you make it clearer, then the picture will be clearer. And if most of the time it's open for public use, then there's difference. And then the Hong Kong police can take law enforcement actions, and long hair can still demonstrate there. And then people will not be so concerned. So one question, how much time of the year can the public use that particular site? The Deputy Secretary can answer that. I would like to thank Mr. Tian for the question. By opening up arrangements, as we said, we have got some understanding from the PLA about military use. They say that some battleships may berth, etc. Now, for the other times, except for military use, then the other periods can be opened up for public use. That is a military dock, a military facility. According to the garrison law, is managed by the garrison. Well, it's just a few seconds. 365 days, 10 days, 20 days for military use. You can make some projection. Well, as I said, we got some understanding for military use, but we cannot speak on behalf of the garrison in terms of exactly how many days. But we can say if it is not for military use, then normally speaking it will be opened up for public use. And the garrison has made this commitment. And under the law, whether it's about private use or public land, whether who manages it, Hong Kong police, according to Hong Kong law, can take law enforcement action. Another question is a military dock, as we said. Just like other military facilities and military sites in Hong Kong, according to the garrison law, it is managed and used by the garrison. It's an objective fact. It's a military dock. So surely it's for military use. Thank you.
Claudia Mo. Today, Mr. Paul Chen, when he made his opening speech, I find that his tone was like that of a mainland official. His rhetoric and his style really, sounds like senior officials from the mainland. I was wondering whether this is only my personal perception. Obviously, that is not so. The officials are now speaking on behalf of the administration, and you are now confusing the facts. You keep telling us what happened in 2000 and 2006 and 2007, and all the documents say that the site will be used to build a military dock. Well, the dock has already been built already. The small structures have already been erected. Ordinarily, people will not object to POA naval vessels being berthed there. We practice one country, two system. We have allowed those vessels to be berthed there. We know that the dock is there. What we are now arguing is the site in front of the dock with a size of 0.3 hectares. Some people say that it's a small area. That's not true. It's 3,000 square meters or 30,000 square feet of space. Somebody said 3,000 square feet. That is obviously wrong. You know that this is definitely going to be controversial. Now, since 1997, when the 97, there have been 3 occasions when PLA naval ships visited Hong Kong. So since they are going to use it for such a small number of days, and you are reneging on your earlier commitment, the dock is there, the vessels will come and will be berthed there. When that happens, I think we can tell the public that for those 10 days or so, we say that the waterfront promenade a certain section of it will be closed. But you're not deliberately provoking public opinion. You even, say that there's a challenge of the sovereignty of our country. Would you agree? And secondly, would you consider not reneging on what you have promised to us? I mean, this is still a public open space, and now you're saying that according to past practice, every year the area will only be closed for a very limited time. It's only going to be used for PLA naval vessels to be berthed there. Why don't you put it this way? Would you consider that? So 2 questions. Chairman, why do we say that this is a technical amendment? I'll ask Mr. Yi to explain. I think the main reason is that in the year 2000, so in the first plan that was approved, Chairman, I want him to answer my question directly. Would you agree, first of all, that the site in front of the dock has now become a military site? Is that an issue that touches on national sovereignty? Secondly, would you consider my suggestion of still calling it an open, public open space, and it will only when it is necessary that it will be put to military use? 2 questions. Chairman, to answer the first question, I think some members also touch on this, and I would like to clarify here. The military dock that we are talking about, as I said, it's a military dock, it's a military facility. According to the garrison law, it will be managed by the garrison and used by the garrison. So there's no lease or memorandum signed between the SARG and the garrison. So the arrangement is the same as that which applied to other military sites in Hong Kong. Secondly, why do we need to have this technical amendment? Well, because this is a military dock, and the planning department already said that in 2000 we already mentioned that the site is going to be a military dock. You're repeating yourself. We all know that the dock exists. What we are now complaining is the open space, which originally was to be used as a public open space, but now you're calling it a military site, and that you actually you're provoking, the public. In our planning, if the site is going to be used to build a military dock for military use, according to the present draft, we need to make a technical amendment to take out that area, so that it would not be planned as an public open space. Mr. Chen Chi-chin, many colleagues don't quite understand what the Secretary and the Permanent Secretary are talking about. The two Mr. Teens have good intentions. In other words, they suggested that only when I think it doesn't. But the proposal says, well, the Secretary said that the site has been allotted to the PLA, and therefore the PLA will manage the site. They can use the site for 5 days and open it for 360 days to the public, or they can, like the barracks, they open the barracks for 4 days in a year for the public to visit. So I don't think we have to ask the same question of the Secretary and the Permanent Secretary again and again. My question basically is this. I want the administration to tell us whether the people of Hong Kong can still object at this stage. Do we have the right to object? The Secretary said, why didn't you object earlier? Well, at least it's better, to try than not trying at all to object. And then in paragraph 5, you say that over the starting from the year 2000, there have been 6 occasions when the government mentioned the military dock. The fact that you've mentioned it doesn't mean that the public would know about it, as this is also equally true for the development of North East NT. So what did the public know about? The proposal or the resolution? Don't talk about the public. Even members in this council don't know that. Well, in the according to the 94 paper, if the garrison doesn't need the site for military use, then the site would need to be handed back to the SAR government. So you're talking about for defense purposes or because of the military use. The military value and the defense purpose of the site, I mean, is that really necessary? Do we have any other option? Thank you. I think the military dock and the ancillary facilities, as I said many times earlier, they are military facilities which are necessary for defense reasons. And different members also asked about the arrangement for the area which will be open to the public. We are now proceeding with the amendment of the plan, and after the site is being built and when the site has to be handed over to the PLA, details regarding how the site will be open to the public, an announcement will be made in due course. At this stage, as members suggested, whether or not the area will be open 4 days in a year or for how many days. I think, in peaceful times, like Mr. Michael Teen said, or there might be, unexpected, scenarios. But I don't see how the PLA would go against the wishes of the people of Hong Kong. As I said, the dock is a military facility. According to garrison law, it will be owned and managed by the garrison. But the design of this port has already tied in with the design of the waterfront promenade. And we've also It is also promised that when the dock is not going to be used for military use, it will be open to the public. You see on the site now that there are 4 one-story structures. That's all you see. I think the Secretary is repeating himself. I only have a few seconds. So my question is, the SARG will not bargain with the PLA, or it doesn't have the power to do that? Chairman, I don't think that is a fair question. When you heard my presentation, you'll know that the SARG and the PLA have had very good communication regarding this military port. The PLA knows about the concern of the public, and I think they've already, given us a very friendly response. Mr. Leung Chi Chung. Well, the paper shows clearly that there was an agreement reached in 1994, and in 2007, the electoral members were briefed about this facility, and members were told about what facilities will be built in this area. For the veteran members of the council, it appears that they don't seem to know. I agree with Mr. Chen Chi-kun that I don't think we should be too parochial and imply that allocating land is like giving up our own autonomy, because otherwise, because if we insist on our way, it's like asking PLA to give up its duty for the defense of the territory. I think the PLA's role, I think the policy of the state that the PLA will, the garrison is based here to protect Hong Kong. If we object to that, it will create further dispute or confrontation between Hong Kong and China. There are a few technical questions I want to put to the Secretary and the Department. First of all, for this technical amendment, if it is not approved by the Town Planning Board, what are you going to do? The proposed facilities include reception areas, duty room, pump stations. Then they will not be available for the garrison. And secondly, the Secretary said at the outset that you have communication with the PLA, and that when the dock is not used for military purpose, it will be open to the public. I'd like to ask the Secretary whether, before the plan was made for this site, have you ever talked to the PLA as to how about the extent to which the public can use this space? Regarding the use by the public, the garrison has said many times that apart from having to use the site for military purposes, the site will be open to the public for the rest of the time. Are you making this statement on behalf of the Hong Kong government, or I think that there is division among the different bureaus within the SAR government? Regarding the Town Planning Board, Eric, would you like to explain? Well, this amendment is, I think the Town Planning Board has already received submissions. So, according to the central procedure, pursuant to the Town Planning Ordinance, the Town Planning Board will listen to the submissions and conduct hearings to decide whether or not it will amend the draft plan. My question is, just in case the Town Planning Board doesn't approve your proposal, I mean, a technical amendment may not always be approved by the Town Planning Board. In that scenario, if that scenario should happen, what would happen? I think the Town Planning procedure has now begun, and I don't think we should make any speculation at this stage. Mr. Kok-him, thank you. I've heard many members making very agitated speeches on this topic. I think Mr. Chi-kun really put it very well, that he asked the question, that is whether or not the site could be managed by the Hong Kong government and for the use of the garrison. Well, I think this is clearly spelled out in the 1994 agreement. That is, a military dock will be provided to the PLA. Mr. Albert Chen said that the SAR government is lying to the public. The paragraph he read out, I think he left out one sentence. I think in the statement it is said that the Central Military Dock was part of the, I think we said that the 150-meter long coastline was reserved for the garrison to use after 1997. It was clearly indicated that this area was used to build a military dock. As a Central and Western District Council and also as a Legislative member, I understand clearly that it's been that it is said clearly that a dock will need to be built along the coastline. Dr. K.K. Kwok mentioned the year 1994. We are both on the Central Western Council, and all along there have been discussion, and all along we knew that in this area we were going to build a military dock for which will be mentioned by the PLA. How can you say that we are? Well, the District Council agreed to this earlier, and a few days ago the District Council also represented public opinion indicating a support. For LegCo, on the 6th of February 1997, Mr. Lee Wing Tat asked a question. And his question was that it is it's been learned that the overall planning concept of the Central Commission's Phase 3 project is to provide leisure facilities for public along the waterfront promenade and to enable the public to enjoy the views of the Victoria Harbour. Some 150 meters of the waterfront have been reserved in the area of the project for the construction of a military dock for naval vessels of Hong Kong garrison of the PLA. In this connection, would the government inform the Council of the following? Michael Sheen, the then Secretary, gave the answer. Please check the records. Why is it now all of a sudden people are saying that we only promised to provide the coastline? It's all along been in the plan, and the government has is also telling us that if the garrison doesn't need to use the site, it will be open to the public. When I heard our colleagues, especially those belong to certain political parties, saying that we are, alienating our land and give it to the PLA, that is actually provoking the public. They also mentioned there have not been any consultation, and that the government did not listen to the public. I think they are making these statements either out of ignorance, or I think the fact of the matter is that it is very clear when the dock is not used for a military purpose, it will be open to the public. And this is also clearly mentioned in the 1994 agreement. Mr. Frederick Fong, Mr. Phan Kok Wai, Mr. Leung Kok Hong, Dr. Fernando Zhang, Ms. Sid Ho, Mr. Ng Hong, Mrs. Regina Yip, Ms. Chen Yun Ha, Mr. Wu Chi Wai. And so I believe we still have a long way to go for this item, so please be brief. Chairman, in Para 2, Para 7, Para 10, and Para 14 mentioned by Mr. Kok Him, they talk about what happened on the 6th of June 2007. Even if we go to Para 15, the government is saying that we are reserving the site to build a military dock. Of course, a dock is for the naval vessels to berth, and nobody, I believe, will object to that. Nobody has ever said that that PLA naval vessel, we will not allow the naval vessels of the PLA to be berthed here. We've never said that. The question, a dock for military vessels are different from a military site because a military site would mean a site that is occupied by the army. A military dock may not include the site or the site in front of the pier. So because that both two sides to the dock, to the left is the sea, to the right is the land. What we're talking about is the land side. As we know, this has military value. If one goes to para 15, what is the site going to be used? That is, it's going to be used to build duty rooms and also fire service facilities. We're not talking about, military hardwares or electronic, or satellites. Duty rooms, reception room. I think these are very ordinary facilities. I don't see any military value in them. If indeed there is a war and there is a military use, any place could be put to military use in the event of a war. If the U.S. goes to the war with China, the whole of Hong Kong will become a military land, and the first place the U.S. will bomb will be Hong Kong. So I don't think we need to worry too much. It's not really absolutely necessary that it's for military use. It's only, otherwise, I mean, the inverted, the garrison headquarters, which look like the inverted funnel, is already the icon. So I don't think we should argue over these things. If I were the PLA, I would probably say that just let me, let my vessels berth there and our soldiers to do the drills there, and that be all. Let's not be all so upset.
Just let the public use it. It is of not much military value. I think the icon is the building itself. So your comment. Next, Mr. Gary Fan. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, mainly speaking, I would like to talk about the government's approach in the public consultation, whether there was neglect or whether it was a deliberate act of negligence. I don't want to comment on whether there is a conflict between the PLA and the people of Hong Kong. I think the Secretary digressed when he made his statement. I tried to do some homework in May 2006. At that time, the PD as well as the Bureau prepared a consultation paper concerning the new Central Waterfront. It's a consultation document. We have the OZP, among others. We have a lot of details. Either they were the artist's impression or they were prepared by computers. So we had a number of details. Corridors, outdoors, multimedia, performance venue, etc., etc. So the overall direction of planning was sort of outlined. As to the location of the military dock, the administration has insisted that consultation has taken place. I don't think it's quite true. For this leaflet, which was available to the public, this point wasn't included. Now, if we go to floor 1M, I think a number of plans are being exhibited, and I don't think we can see anything referring us to the military dock. So if you have said that there was public consultation, was there? And I think it is something very important. It's a landmark. It's a concept to green the area. So do we need a military dock to sort of highlight the sovereignty? Well, in fact, we have the PLA on our left-hand side and then the police headquarters on the right-hand side. So I think the sovereignty is clearly expressed. Do you think that it is not a satisfactory arrangement of a military dock there? I think please explain why in the public consultation document you didn't mark the military dock on the plan. Secretary, I'd like to ask the Deputy Secretary to explain. I'm sorry, I don't have the document that Mr. Gary Fan referred to. However, for the paper we gave to the electrical panel, we have this paper in year 2008. We have this urban design study of the new Central Harbourfront. Well, in fact, it is still available on the website. It was in the year 2008 that it was issued. There's in relation to the second stage of the PEE. I want you to go to page 7. We have said that the waterfront promenade will be the east-west pedestrian link. And then the waterfront promenade will have a lot of greenery, and there will be a number of naval facilities, including piers, public landing steps, and a PLA military pier. I think we have made it very clear. I do not see anything which is vague. This is one of the examples. So we've extracted the relevant documents, and in fact we have already referred the documents to members to highlight under what circumstances we have properly referred to the military berth. Thank you. Next, Mr. Leung Kwok Hong is not here, so Fernando Zhang. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For military site, if we have structures on military sites, should there be additions or alterations? Do they have to go through the town planning board? Please invite them to give a reply. Yes, please. Currently, it is already marked for military use, and the dock is directly related to the military use. If it is for this use, then no application is needed. So for military site, the structures do not require the approval of the town planning board if it is directly related to the land use. And in fact, for the annotation here, it is already clearly marked. The site is for military use. So I understand. So, Mr. Chairman, all along, the information there shows that there is a straight line, and it will be a military berth. It doesn't actually say that it is military site. Now, military site is what they are asking us to approve. They want to have 0.3 hectares of land to be rezoned from open space to military site. Now, before the amendment, it is still an open space. Now, structures have already been built. They are of a military nature. I want to know whether you have already breached the regulations. Secretary, I would like to thank Mr. Zhang for his question. I don't quite understand why Mr. Zhang has this query. Now, a military dock is a military facility, and then in our plans, we would annotate it as military use. Now, military facilities used by the Hong Kong garrison, that is the PLA, would be annotated military use. Now, on an OZP, if it is already annotated military use, why are you coming to us today? I think you want to make an amendment. Clearly, it means that on the OZP you haven't annotated military use. You just marked it as a military berth. A military berth is not the same as a site zoned military use. Deputy Secretary, now we are seeking a technical amendment. In a moment, the PD can read out the annotation. Well, it is marked military use. For the planning intention, it is a military dock. I think it is quite clear. So it's a military dock. It is not a military use. There are two different amendments. Can I ask the PD to read out the technical amendment? I made myself clear. Please do not repeat your model answer. To me, it is simple. I think they are suspected of having breached the rules. I agree very much with what Mr. K.K. Fong has said. The people of Hong Kong surely welcome the PLA's warships using their military dock. It's fine with us. But then, for the Central Waterfront Promenade, all out of a sudden, we are asked to give up a part of it, and there will be amendment to rezone it as military use, so that the management and the use will be taken away from us. I think clearly we cannot agree to this. I think for the waterfront promenade, well, if you don't agree, you don't need to agree. For Mr. James' question about the construction, in paragraph 14, we've already given an answer. It is not a case of unauthorized construction in relation to the military dock. Next, Ms. Sit Ho. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In Hong Kong, many sites in the past annotated military use are no longer military sites. If the CPG is really interested in our well-being, I think they should look at the garrison law. Well, I think if any site is not for defense use, it should be returned to the Hong Kong SARG, like the site in King's Park. We have followed up on that issue for many years. And then another one, and Ranford Road is a huge barracks. I think it should be given to City U and the BU so that they don't have to fight over the site at Li Wai Lei. And then at Cornwall Road, again, the barracks could have been given to City U for higher education. I think we need to re-examine the prime sites in the urban area when they are no longer needed for defense purposes. I think the SARG should be bolder and should approach the garrison and say that it is no longer used for defense purpose, and so they should be returned to us so that the secretary doesn't have to wait a long time to get 30 hectares of land out of reclamation. Now, for this military berth, according to the Deputy Secretary, it is said that it is a military berth and so it is military use. Well, according to the town planning process, when a site is annotated military use, then it has a special meaning. Now, once we use the planning jargon, it is a military use, then we can't have any say over that. And then when it is a military site, that means the mainland laws would apply. Now we're talking about a continuous promenade. Now you're saying that this stripe of land will be military, and then mainland laws would apply. I think it can't be right. I think the previous two terms of government knew that it was very sensitive as an issue. And therefore, you have never referred to Article 13 of the Garrison Law. Now you're always talking about or referring to it as a military dock. I hope that the Secretary and the DS will make it clear. If there's no going back, if you can't rezone it as public open space, please tell us clearly whose laws would apply and who will be the law enforcement agencies. If it is military land, does it mean that we need the approval of the PLA before Hong Kong policemen can go there to enforce the law, or will it be a mess? So please answer Ms. Ho's question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, for this military dock, when it is open to the public, as to which laws will apply, I would like to ask the DS to answer the question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think earlier on, when answering other members' questions, we have already given an answer. Let me say this again. According to the garrison law, this military dock as a military facility will be managed and used by the Hong Kong garrison. But then, for the Hong Kong police force, irrespective of who is managing a venue, and whether it is public or private, the police force can still invoke the powers given to them under the law. And in fact, the PLA, as the manager of this site, the police force can liaise with them. There won't be any legal vacuum, and there is no question of application of the mainland laws. Right, exactly. That means you need to talk to them before you can enforce the law. Mr. Low, I'm new to the electrical, but we are going to respect history. We respect what previous discussions had taken place by the previous electrical. Although I may not agree with everything that took place, we have already got a number of papers, like the announcement on the 6th of June 2007, Lei Wing-tat and the then Secretary for Planning, Lands and Works, Mr. Michael Shun, gave an answer to Lei Wing-tat's question. Mr. Lee's question was about whether the Victoria Harbour's view will be blocked. And so from the words, it shows that everybody was aware that there was going to be a military dock and there would be relevant structures. And then in year 2002, there was this extract from the PWC, and that's about the project 343CL. So there will be the construction of a berth of about 150 meters and associated facilities for use by the Chinese People's Liberation Army Forces Hong Kong. As to consultation with the public, we have stage 2 of the PEE of the urban design study of the new Central Harbourfront. I think please turn to page 25. Meeting public aspirations. It says that to integrate the PLA berth with the waterfront promenade and allow for public access. In order to respond to the public aspirations, mention is made about the key design features. So if there are colleagues who are saying that 150 meters is just a dock for you to berth vessels and it does not include any land, it will be unimaginable. You have all taken a boat trip for a berth. You can't have a berth without the landside facility. Therefore, that site is necessary because we need the area for the pump, for the fire services facility, etc. So, and we need some military personnel there. We are talking about a really small area, 2,900 meters square. So it is necessary to house such basic facilities. I cannot see any reason as to why, after so much discussion, after so much time, there is still objection to it today. I was a member of the Town Planning Board. I am an electrical member now. I resigned from the Town Planning Board because I found that there would be a clash of meetings between Town Planning Board and electrical, so I took the initiative to resign from the membership. So somebody referred to Barry Zhang. I don't think it's got anything to do with him. I think it's the clashing of the meeting schedule, because we have House Committee and Finance Committee meetings on Fridays when the Town Planning Board holds meetings. Now, I think the zoning is in line with the use. If it is residential, then you have residential blocks. If you want to build factories, then you need an industrial site. A military facility, of course, calls for military use. I don't think that's the basic work of the Town Planning Board. So, Secretary for Development, well, in fact, you haven't got time to answer my question. I had tried to ask a question about the operation. I want to know which part would be off limits to the public. Probably the office would be off limits to the public, even if you open the area to the public. It doesn't matter if you don't have time to answer my question. Give an answer to us later. Mrs. Regina Yim, let me declare. At the time, I was the Director of Bureau handling the application. At that time, Division A of the Security Bureau liaised with the PLA, and the Security Bureau also applied for funding. At that time, there was consensus, so please don't blame Mr. Chen. Is it because we have new members and so this is to be offset, this is to be overflown? I think it will be very mind-boggling to people on the other side of the Sunshine River. I think in this conference room, I went to Australia, Canada, USA, to visit the military sites. Many people found it difficult to understand why military sites have to be off limits during peacetime. Well, many Hong Kong people don't have much military knowledge or any sense of crisis. When we are in peacetime, we still need military sites because they need to carry out drills where they have to gather intelligence for the sake of protecting Hong Kong.
I can say some examples. Say, more than 10 years ago, a politician in Taiwan, Liu Tai-ying, he said that if necessary, missiles can be fired to attack Hong Kong. You can check the record. I asked the garrison how they could cope with missiles, and the garrison said that they would safeguard Hong Kong. So actually, many people are doing certain things we don't know about the military dock. Okay, they mentioned fire installations, electricity installations. But if they have some sophisticated equipment, do they have to tell you now? Okay, you place a rubber duck along the waterfront, you can remove the rubber duck, and then you berth a battleship. It's just ridiculous. You can go to San Diego. It's very scenic, but it's submarine base along the waterfront. So Hong Kong people really are in lack of military knowledge. They don't have a crisis, and they don't have responsibility towards our country. So I'm really infuriated after listening to members. So I will support this item. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. The past couple of weeks, the government answered us concerning private land, about the use of for the public. Always it said that the public can use it, but actually only designated groups can use it. Now for this paper, talk about the public. You say that it says that if it is not for military use, then the public can use this particular site. Is it true that the general members of the public can use it? Or is it like the clubs in some country parks, only some designated sections of the public? Secondly, another point for clarification about the legal points. About the dock itself, okay, is military use, according to this paper, is for the PLA. Just now the Deputy Secretary mentioned law enforcement. It says that it will have communication with the Hong Kong police. Now for private land, okay, or PLA managed site, they may have their own law. So can you tell us the actual operation or enforcement? Is it like what the Deputy Secretary said? Okay, the site is given to the PLA, but enforcement will be taken by Hong Kong police, but not the PLA. And not for the PLA to exercise its management rights. So please clarify this. Deputy Secretary. I'd like to thank Mr. Wu for the question. The first question, opening up for the public about the arrangements. Now for the military dock, in terms of the design, there's certain arrangements. We hope that we can integrate it with the design of the promenade. So paragraph 17 mentions that, say, there is folding gates. If the military dock is not for military use, then the gates will be opened and people can go through this particular site. We hope that people can go through it and to connect with the other parts of the promenade. So for public use, it means that members of the public can really go through it. Just now some members mentioned the design of central reclamation, etc., of a waterfront. Actually, we are implementing this sort of concept. Secondly, about enforcement, as we mentioned just now, two basic principles. Now, first, for the military dock, according to garrison law, the Hong Kong garrison is responsible for managing the facilities. So for the future use and management, the garrison will be responsible for that. Of course, if it's closed for military use, then of course there's no question of the police going in to take enforcement action. If the military dock is opened up for public use, then even if it's POA garrison-managed military dock, the Hong Kong police can still take enforcement action according to Hong Kong law. Just now we said that for this sort of arrangement, the police will communicate with the garrison to ensure that opening up arrangement is smooth. Mr. Chen Kinpo, actually I would like to ask the point as mentioned by Deputy Secretary. Some people, or some members said that one part of the promenade is cut off. It seems that we will have to stop when we go to the military dock. Now, paragraph 17 is very clear. Now, Annex B is quite clear. People can go from east to west and west to east. I can confirm that, Deputy Secretary. Will you confirm that? Annex B is very clear. Anytime members of the public can go along the promenade, they can go through it. Is it true? So you have to ensure that people can easily go from east to west or west to east. Is it true? Yes, Mr. Chan's understanding is correct. Even if the military dock is closed for military use, people can still use the pedestrian walkway to go from east to west and west to east. They can still do it. Yes, if we have this arrangement, I think it will minimize public nuisance and inconvenience. Not for us to decide. I think there has been long-term discussion. I hope that members do not have second thoughts. It's military dock, just like that. I will support this paper. Mr. Chen Kam-lam. Thank you. For military use, for military dock, it's according to the 1994 exchange of notes between the British and the Chinese government. There is a defense land agreement. We have to discharge our duties according to the agreement. So there is some reason for that. And for the past years, the SAR government has done consultation at different councils and boards, and this is put on record. So for the amendments with respect to the town planning board, it's not especially related to the use. Actually, it's military use. Just now what Mr. Lo Wai-kok said is correct. Mr. Kenneth Chen moved the motion. I don't think we should support the motion. We have to respect the 1994 agreement between the UK and China. If we depart from that, then we will breach our commitments. It's not whether the PLA needs the particular site, we have to respect the commitment. And just now, the Secretary gave some answers, and the paper also mentions that some people and the media actually neglect the facts, and they make up certain statements, and actually they create certain troubles. They have done some mischief between Hong Kong, between China and SAR in Hong Kong. So we should denounce that sort of action. We should be clear. Now, for certain social issues, nowadays, a lot of pictures and scenarios have been misled, have been led actually by the media. We have to be very careful. The SAR government should really state it specifically. It's not just certain media. So we should mention what kind of media organizations are involved, and it's even clearer. When we talk about people who neglect history, facts, we really have to specifically point out the facts. In this way, members of the public will not find it unclear. Members of the public may not go into the great details of these sort of facts, so they may be misled by certain media organizations. So in today's age, in our society, we should be more specific in giving accurate information. So I will oppose Mr. Kenneth Chan's motion. First round, no more hands. I think members are quite interested in this issue. 20 members have asked questions, and there are 3 more members for the second round. You can supplement your views. Point of order. Mr. Chairman, is 3:55 to 4:45. Actually, the time actually has been overrun for this particular item. I think an 15-minute overrun for the whole meeting. So how about the rest of the agenda items? You ask them to have the second round questions, then how can you control the time? 3 minutes each. Kenneth Chan, he'll sum it up. Ka-lok is not here. And Albert Chan. Ka-lok is not here. 3 minutes. Albert Chan. Just now, this secretary said that we are having an adversarial position, attitude. Actually, we are not being adversarial. We are speaking on behalf of the people. But actually, we are not trying to be stooges. Some people have a sway, they have power. We will not betray Hong Kong people. Okay, you have agreement. How about the content of the agreement? About China and Britain, is it true that they sold Hong Kong people down the river? We don't know. Okay, there's a military dock. For the years, we have not opposed the military dock. But you talk about military use. The PLA owns it, and we are attacking this particular point. PLA uses the military dock for military use. You use it, the PLA uses it, no problem. But if the dock is not used, for the promenade, for the waterfront, for that particular section, if it is possessed by the PLA, then we oppose that. So we have to separate the issues. For the first question, Hong Kong people have to be very clear, and also we have pointed it out time and again that when planning harbourfront uses, especially for greening, and a park from 2006 to 2008 for overall planning. But I have certain papers. The papers did not say that section was for military use. So we have to point out the historical fact. And the town planning board planned the use, it was for recreational use. This is the fact. We should not distort the fact. History cannot be distorted. Mrs. Regina Yip mentioned the fact that other people in other countries support military use. But for other countries, the army would not kill their own people by tanks. That's the characteristic of PLA. We have to be true to history. What kind of army will kill their own people? We were the security chief. So what did you do? After handover, there was reclamation, there was a park, and you only mentioned it now. There was dereliction of duty on your part at that year. China and Britain betrayed Hong Kong people. There was dereliction of duty, and you covered it up. We have to reprimand Regina Yip. I think the legal advisor can help us for military use, for military dock, for military use, and for land to be used by the POA. There are different legal points of view. Hope that the legal advisor can give us a written paper. Please don't confuse the facts. It is for military dock. It's not that the site wholly is for military use. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, I would like to say a few words for the basic facts. This military dock is military facility for the Central OZP. So the amendment is just to give effect to 0.3 hectares. Thank you. Kenneth Chen, summing it up, 3 minutes. And for follow-up questions, I'd like to thank members for discussing this issue. I have a strong feeling. We are just trying to argue things over, but we are really facing soldiers, perhaps. And the former security chief was also involved. People can laugh at me. There are many people outside who are writing submissions to the town planning board. I hope the pro-establishment members can understand it. The deadline will be the small hours today. How many people will support you? How many people will oppose you? Dock facilities are okay, but 0.3 hectares permanently, it will be designated for military use according to the garrison law. Now, garrison law interpretation from the library is for the PRC. You can read it, and you know our concerns and worries. We talk about the law. The garrison law said is for defense use. It's not something new. And for the presentation of garrison law, it's like 1994 arrangement. It's not for non-military use. How about for public use? What kind of use is it? Of course, for security implications, I think the Development Bureau cannot answer that. Security Bureau, Private Security Panel can answer that. Now, lastly, please look at it. 1994 agreement. One half of it mentioned 2,700 hectares. The 0.3 hectares are not mentioned. Another half will be given back to Hong Kong. 15,428. So the facts are very clear. History is clear. Now we are debating whether 30,000 square feet, 0.3 hectares. Now it's open space. We have to see whether we change it to military use. That's all I want to say. Hope the members can support my motion. Hope that is open ballot. Now, Mr. Kenneth Chan, that we put this to the vote, this motion to the vote by open ballots. When members finish speaking, and we'll vote on Mr. Chan's motion that this panel objects to amending the open space at the waterfront north of the PLA headquarters to other specified uses annotated military use 1. Now, members, those in favor, put your hands. Those in support of Mr. Kenneth Chan's motion. Yes, we can recall to the members because they've asked me to do that. Could we to have the bell then? We have a climate division. Yes, Mr. Chairman, when we are waiting for members to come back, I would like to clarify one point. Mr. Kenneth Chan mentioned how much land is returned to Hong Kong government, how much land is for military use. He mentioned for Central Military Dock, 0.3 hectares. He said that it's not there, but at that time, it was not reclaimed yet. There was no specific design.
If you look at the OCP in the year 2000, there are 150 meters of coastline. It was stipulated that it would be pending the detailed design.
時候咧係完全冇晒嗰個150米。
It didn't say that 150 meters will be put to military use. The entire waterfront promenade, I think in the original plan, it was not designated for military use. Please do not distort the facts and distort history. Chairman, in the urban design study for the Central Waterfront, I think I and myself have reiterated many times that the military dock and the onshore facilities have been clearly listed. Show us the maps. Look at the plan in the year 2006, Mr. Paul Chen. Are you the spokesperson for the PLA? Please look at the papers. Please look at the plans in 2006 and 2008. Otherwise, you know. I have the papers here, Chairman. I have brought along all the papers. I have all the papers. The papers for in 2006-7. I have all these plans in color. We're talking about planning, not reclamation. All along it has been said that there would be a pier. Don't distort the facts. You're the one who is distorting the facts. You are distorting the facts. I think you should not distort history. Do not be a slave of the PLA. Don't object every time when it involves the PLA. I hope you will not attack the PLA. An army which slaughters its own people, I would definitely object.
The
concept plan for the Central Waterfront, it's never mentioned that there will be a military dock. Well, I think the bells are not loud enough. To remind the staff to to make it louder, and while we can carry on with the discussion until the vote. I can't hear the bell next door. You know that many members are attending other meetings as well. Could you ask the Secretariat to tune up the sound? Right. We will now vote on the motion. Members who are not a member of those who are not a member of this panel, please do not take part in the vote. All those in favor of the motion, would you please put up your hands, and the Secretary will record the names. Those against? Again, the Secretary will take down the names. Michael T, Chen Kim-ball, Mr. Chen Hang-ban, Mr. James Teen, Mr. Paul Che, Mr. Tony Che. Will the Secretary please read out the names again? Those in favor are, there are 9 members in favor: Albert Chen, Fan Kok Wai, Chen Ka-lok, Alan Leong, Frederick Fong, Mr. Wu Chi-wai, Fernando Zhang, Claudia Mo, Chen Chi-chin. And those against, we have 13. Mr. Chen Kam-lam, Ms. Ann Chang, Mrs. Regina Yip, Ms. Matt Makin, Mr. Yip Kok Hyun, Mr. Chen Hak Gary Chan, Ms. Lan Chi Chung, Ms. Lo Kwok Wai, Ms. Lo Wai Kwok rather, Mr. Michael Teen, Mr. Chen Kim-ball, Mr. Chen Hang-ban, Mr. James Teen, and the Deputy Chairman, Mr. Tony Chair. So the number of votes against outnumber the number of votes in favor. I now declare that the motion is not carried. Next, we move on to the next item. Thank you very much. The next item, item 7, Civil Servants Cooperative Building Society Scheme. Or the redevelopment of civil servants' quarters under this scheme. We'll invite officials to join us for this item. I'd like to welcome the officials attending us for this item discussion. Would the administration please walk us through the paper? Thank you. Before members discuss this item, there are a few things I'd like to say. The background of the Civil Servants Cooperative Building Society, I'm sure you know the details already, so I shan't repeat them here. But before you ask questions, I'd like to make a few preliminary remarks. First of all, according to the information of the Lands Department, up to the end of March 2013, of the 177 former CBS, which include 4,640 units, 40% of the owners have actually applied to the Lands Department for the cancellation of the alienation restrictions, and upon payment of a premium, they have actually had the alien restrictions removed. So the premium payment was not a deterrent for the free transfer of the units under the scheme. Since there are still some owners who are paying the premium, we believe that this is still a channel that we can overlook. Other than private redevelopment, the owners of these units can also approach the URA for redevelopment. According to the Urban Redevelopment Strategy announced in 2011, the URA can propose redevelopment projects, or the owners can also propose the redevelopment. Members of the CBS, upon they've obtained the title, they can consider applying to the URA through the demand-led pilot scheme for redevelopment. The URA will adopt a standardized criteria, including the percentage of owners' consent, the state of the buildings, the size of the site, and make decisions regarding the application. Other than these two channels, among the discussions of in the course of discussing the redevelopment of CBS sites, the government we discussed, waiving the requirement for the payment premium and so on, in order to release sites for which we have not made optimal use of the plot ratio. We note also that there are divided views on this question. We know that if we were to change or remove the obligation for these CBS owners to pay the premium, it would be tantamount to public subsidy by out of public funds, and we need public support before we consider that option. Despite that, from the perspective of making optimal use of land resources and how the government can help the redevelopment of the CBS flats, we will continue to adopt an open mind, and we're willing to continue to communicate with the stakeholders. Since January this year, when Ms. Ann Chang raised an oral question regarding the CBS units, the Development Bureau, the Lands Department, and the URA have explored the issue from different perspectives to see whether or not there are viable options to facilitate the redevelopment of these CBS flats. I hope members understand that there are both, in terms of policy and there are policy and technical, complications which we need to look into carefully and consider all the rationales and as well as the impact on other government policies. With that, I'll be happy to take members' questions. All right, questions are now invited to ask questions, and I propose that each member be given 4 minutes, and that includes response from the administration. Frederick Fung. Chairman, I have 3 questions. I'll make them short. And first of all, in regard to para 7, you say 177 CBS have been dissolved, and 13 of them have paid the full land premium. Since 107 have been dissolved, why is that only 13 of them are willing to pay the full premium? And what's the reason for the other 160 odd CBS? Why do they want to maintain the status quo? And even after they have been dissolved, they still have not paid the full land premium for redevelopment. In para 8, have you conducted a consultation? You say the majority agree. From the few CBS that have approached, most of them don't agree because the 75 requirement is too stringent, and because of that they are not able to dissolve the CBS. So I'd like to know whether or not you can lower the threshold of 75%. And finally, the payment of the land premium. If you give them a concessionary rate or to waive the the requirement to pay the premium, it will be given them multiple, benefits. But normally after redevelopment, the new building will be much taller than the existing quarters. Given the current state of the property market, if you can actually increase the number of floors by 2 to 3 times, unless the property prices drop to a third of its present level. So you're not going to give them a concession rate, but at least you can give them some leeway in terms of the timing of the payment. And regarding the Sumshui cases, I won't name many names. These CBS owners have approached the developer, but the developer complained that the government is not willing to give them a price, and therefore they are not willing to buy up the units. Could the government inform the CBS about the premium they need to pay so that they can negotiate with the developers? I'll ask the CSB to answer the question regarding the 75%. Thank you. To answer Mr. Fong's question about the 75%, I think this is pursuant to Cap 3.3. This is a requirement laid down in the ordinance. Under that ordinance, it's not just the CBS. There are other cooperatives like the fishermen's cooperatives and cooperatives of other trades. In that ordinance, it is stipulated that you need 75% of the members of the cooperative's agreement before you can dissolve the cooperative. If we were to change the 75% requirement, we need to conduct extensive consultation, because it will not only involve the civil service cooperatives, several dozens of other cooperatives will also be affected. Any question? Well, I had 4 questions, Chairman. Ms. Cheung can answer the other question. Thank you, Mr. Fong, for your question. Of the 177 CBS which have been dissolved, only 13 of them, or 11 of them, have been redeveloped, and there are 2 others in which all the owners have paid the full land premium. As to why the other 160 odd CBS and why they have not been redeveloped, we've not conducted a detailed assessment. However, there could be many reasons. Some of them may not be willing to pay the land premium. Others may think that others may have talked to the developer, and the developer may not be interested in redeveloping the site on which the buildings are located. So there could be many reasons why not all the CBS have paid the full land premium in exchange for the full title. And the other question is about the payment of the land premium. Mr. Fong asked the question, that is, after redevelopment, in theory, we can build many more units. Mr. Fong asked the question about timing. I think in the lease, in the under leases, the under leases doesn't say that they can postpone the payment of the land premium. Of course, I understand that within the committee, some people suggest that the timing for the payment of the land premium could be postponed. Well, there are technical and policy issues here which we need to take up with the Lands Department first. Mr. Fong's last question was the case in Sumshui. Mr. Fong gave the example of the developer not unwilling to redevelop the project because they were not certain about the land premium to be paid. And that, together with the issue of whether we could postpone the payment of the land premium, we are prepared to look into that. I understand what you mean. The government is not able to give them the amount of premium to be paid. When members raise this issue, we've also heard the concerns of the members of the cooperatives. Several bureaus are now looking into this. Ms. Ann Chang, thank you. Regarding these few sites, some suggested whether or not they could be, whether it's unfair if they could pay a lower land premium. I think first of all, we are responding to the government's appeal to locate land for housing development. We have all these sites which are community located, and that's in the urban area. That's why we are proposing them to the government. We've also, conducted a study as to whether or not it's feasible. If it's not feasible, we wouldn't propose them to the government. I think we believe that at this time the government should resolve this problem. We all know that these sites, the members of the corporates have paid part of the premium. Some have paid 1/3, or others have paid half the premium. And they also borrowed the money from the government for the construction of the building. But they pay the liability of repayment. It's not true that they didn't have to repay the loan. They had to. I think the crucial issue now is that in the past, they had to pay the land premium according to the existing land value. And starting from April 2010, you started to use the redevelopment value as the basis. I have all the documents with me here. For example, in the Shuning Road, Chengshawan, there's a unit with a size of 1,000 square feet. In 2010, the land premium required was 1.27 million. You can take down the figures. In 2012, they were told that the premium, the government would not use the existing value. Instead, they were going to use the redeveloped value as the basis of calculation, and the amount they have to pay would be 3.3 million. And since there is no building with 1,200 square feet, so they can only quote the price of $5,000 per square foot. So they will get $5 million for the unit. They pay $3.3 million to the government. They are left with $2 million, and they can't buy anything with the $2 million. There are many other examples, and I will not go through them one by one. What I want to say, I think, to you, Secretary, I understand that you are a devout Christian. I'm like you as well. I've actually met with these people. They do face this problem. That is, after they've sold the flat, they don't have enough money left to buy an alternative unit. And so I was thinking that there might be a problem here, because the premium, you shouldn't charge them the full the land premium based on the redevelopment value.
Yep. Well, they will have to redevelop the site and then sell it. Then you can use the redevelopment value. I think, Secretary, I've already got some information, and that's what happened in 1993. At that time, for the value of $1, it was transferred. I don't know why this was the case. At that time, the then FS sort of gave this approval. Is it because those persons involved enjoyed privileges? So in the past, premium was paid on the basis of existing value. Why has there been such a change? What is important is to be fair. Well, now there is anger among the members because they think that it is not fair. Perhaps we can have a public hearing so that the Development Bureau can listen to the views and then have a direct dialogue. I won't likely render assistance to anybody involved in the tricky issue. I won't try to make life difficult for the administration by picking a particular issue. I'm busy, but I went there and I got hold of lots of information. I can see that they're worthy of our assistance. So, Mr. Chairman, can we not have a public hearing on this matter? Thank you. In the interest of time, I'll just give a very concise answer. As I have said, Ms. Ann Jang, Mr. Tony Chair, and a number of members have already suggested, and in fact we have taken the matter seriously. Other than the Development Bureau, other bureaus also took part. Our approach is to resolve the problem when we approach this matter. But then for this matter, that is the Civil Servants Cooperative Building Society schemes, I don't think we can have a broad brush approach. They have different locations of different scales, and the density of development is also different. So for this matter, I think we need time to resolve it. And then for the valuation, whether it should be on the basis of existing value or the redevelopment value. Yes, I've noted the problem arising from the change. Well, in the land grant, when they first formed themselves into a cooperative, I think there is already a condition spelled out there as to how it is hindering their redevelopment or their transfer, and what we can do to untie the knot. I think we're still in the process of resolving the matter. Ms. Zhang, you referred to a particular case. Please give us the information so that we can examine that case in greater details. We can regard it as a case study. It means that we try to take a more in-depth look to see how that case and similar cases can be resolved. We'll try to see if we can find a way out of it. At this moment, I can't be sure as to whether we can resolve it or not, but then our attitude is one of being helpful. Mr. Chair, of course we are glad to hear that the Secretary would like us to make good use of the land. For the CBS buildings, most of them are on prime urban site. They haven't been put to optimal use. For many years, for those living there, as a result of disrepair and lack of facilities, they have encountered many problems. The Secretary has already said that he will take a good look of the matter. Well, we are talking about a large number of civil servants who are still residing at such buildings. Many of them have spent their entire career in contributing to the society of Hong Kong. So perhaps we want to try to help them, while at the same time we shouldn't be wasting such prime sites. The policy has been with us for over 20 years, and then I don't think they are really attractive to the private developers. 13 of them have already paid the premium. Only 11 have been redeveloped. In other words, under 10% have been redeveloped. I think we need to operate on the principle of fairness. It would be wrong to transfer the interest to the developers, but I really hope that we can help those who are residing in such buildings. It will be a very important factor to take into account. Just now, mention was made about certain administrative restrictions. Should they be relaxed so as to facilitate redevelopment? Now, premium would either be calculated on a different basis. There are two steps. One in relation to restriction to transfer, the other is in relation to the size of the flat. It will be very difficult for the developers to consider such cases. It may not be that feasible. When it comes to land use, in the urban area, understand that not all the CBS buildings are situated on areas which are amenable to a higher development density. Probably some of them can only be redeveloped into luxury flats. But we have to appreciate the difficulties of those living there. So when the government is to formulate policy, we have to examine the possible consequences. We hope that the society as a whole can benefit from any policy change. I think it is a highly technical issue, and I don't think we should waste each other's time to dwell into the details. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Time flies. When we first started this issue on the 22nd of January this year, I was talking about Barry Cheung. At that time, I said that I think you were also here. I said that Mr. Cheung has a lot of property officers. He has a lot of directorships. He may have a conflict of interest. But then at that time, somebody found that it was not pleasing to her ears, and then Mr. Lau was asked to evict me. Was it too noisy and so you didn't get my word? It was in January. At that time, I already said that there might be a problem with Barry Cheung. So when did you make the recommendation? Or did you still make the recommendation despite the warning that I have voiced? I left this conference room to attend the meeting of the AJLS, so a reporter alerted me that I should ask this question. I think you have digressed. It is still about accountability. In that case, let me ask another question. Well, for this redevelopment of CBS buildings, I think it is going to be an attractive project. I think in the past it was used to appease the civil servants. They were given a piece of land and then they were given concessions in repayment of mortgage loans. According to our housing policy, generally speaking, a citizen should not enjoy double benefits. If you buy HOS unit, then it means that you will lose your chance to apply for a PRH flat. Many people lost a lot of money during the financial tsunami. Well, for the CBS scheme, I think in the past the administration would like to please the civil servants, hoping that they would appreciate it. Now, that means some benefits have already been given once. Now, if the premium doesn't have to be paid, then it will be too good to be true. If you waive the premium, what is the justification? And if you demand a premium to be paid, on what basis? So you need to give some consideration to the matter. So first of all, I want to know, on the 22nd of January, it was very noisy. I want to ask the Secretary if he heard my comments on Barry Cheung or not. Are you going to answer the question or not? If you think it is not convenient to give an answer, it doesn't matter. If you go out to answer the same question from the reporters, you can do so. Mr. Leung Kwok Hong's question has got nothing to do with the agenda item, so I'm not going to answer the question. As to the other part of the question, I'll ask the Secretary to answer. Mr. Chen, good on you. In our paper, we have already said that for the CBS, just now, Ms. N. Jiang already mentioned this point. That is, for the premium, was it 1/3 of the value or 1/2 of the value. At the time we talked about the upset price, half of the upset price, which is 2/3 of the market value, and therefore as a result there might be some misunderstanding. Half of the upset price, but then it means 1/3 of the market price, half of 2/3, so it means that 1/3 of the market value. When they ask for the modification of release, it is very clear that if they want to remove all the alienation restrictions, they have to pay the premium. So to answer your question in a simple way, they need to pay a premium if they want to rescind the alienation restrictions. Good. I think it's easy to answer this question. Why didn't Mr. Paul Chen answer this question? Next, Mr. Lee. Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask the administration to do the following. Please find a way out so that the CBS buildings can be redeveloped sooner. Now, we are meeting a lot of resistance concerning reclamation and other proposals to fund land for housing. Now, for the CBS buildings, many of them are occupying prime sites. They very much want to have it redeveloped, but they can't. If they can be redeveloped, I'm sure a certain number of flats can be produced as a result. In other words, this is entirely in line with the emphasis of our policies. We want to find land to resolve the problem of housing. Now, many civil servants would like to redevelop the CBS buildings, but then they're prevented from doing so. So, Secretary, can you give a commitment? Please spend some time to look into this matter. Find ways to, say, for example, have a pilot scheme so as to facilitate their earlier redevelopment. Now, the civil servants know that we are having a discussion of this topic. They have given some information to us. I think the Secretary has pointed out that the key point is whether the full premium should be paid. But they think that you're being unfair to them. First of all, they criticize the administration for arbitrarily changing the formula for the calculation of the premium. In the past, it was about the existing value. Now it is the redevelopment value. Now, prior to April 2012, the administration used to use the existing value in the formula. Take a CBS in Shilling Road, Changsha 1. For a flat 1,150 square foot, they paid $1.27 million for the premium. Since April 2012, for the same flat, you need to pay a premium of $3.3 million, a huge difference. So they're criticizing the administration for taking unilateral decision to change the basis of calculation. They are prevented from having it redeveloped. They think that it is unfair. That's the first point. Second point is that between 1989 and 2013, only 11, that is less than 5% of the CBS buildings were redeveloped. So if the secretaries to use the same model, it means that they can't redevelop their buildings. It is unfair. And thirdly, and this has been referred to, now currently the administration doesn't have to go to the town planning board to rezone the site. And in theory, the CBS members have a consensus to have early redevelopment. If you do assist them, then you can have 20,000 flats arising from the redevelopment of the CBS buildings. So please consider their request. You did change the calculation basis, and so they can't redevelop their site. They can't redevelop, and they have lost hope. It is most unfair. And so, Secretary, please regard this as an urgent issue, and please try to release more land so that we can make good use of the land, optimize the use of land, so that in the policy address do something to help the CBS members to have some hope of redevelopment. Secretary, simple answer would be enough. Yes, I think some of the arguments have already been repeated. Well, in the Development Bureau within the government, we try to resolve the problem. This matter is being taken up as an interdepartmental issue. We still have another topic, so Ms. Zhang has asked for a public hearing. I support the idea, but then we have too few members here, so I will ask our clerk to send out members' views. Summon them to come back and ask them to agree to the public hearing. I'll ask the clerk to ask members whether they agree to have a public hearing. If I ring the bell, maybe everybody has left.
反對咪再諮詢咯。
出席嘅議員
Do we have a quorum? The clerk said we can make arrangements to have a public hearing.
So, we still have another item on Tung Chung. Okay, we'll wrap up discussion for the previous item. Now we are on agenda item 8. Tung Chung New Town Extension Study, Stage 2 Public Engagement. Please invite the administration representative to come in. We welcome the representatives. They take us through this paper. They have PowerPoint presentation. Please be concise. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're talking about Tung Chung New Town Extension Study, Stage 2 Public Engagement. About New Town Extension Study, actually, from June to 8 last year, we had Stage 1 public engagement. So refer to the views that we have collected for Stage 1, and then we have come up with certain land use options, and we'll conduct a second stage public engagement exercise. Then we'll collect views further, and then we'll analyze the views, and then we'll have the preferred option for outline development plan. Hope that early in 2014 we'll finish the ODP for public consultation. For Stage 2 public engagement, the planning departments will brief members. Thank you. Well, for study, we had Stage 1 public engagement. Now is Stage 2 public engagement. Now, for the existing Tung Chung New Town, we're trying to explore the possibilities. For East and the West, there is potential. Stage 1, we had public engagement. We received more than 2,300 written submissions, and the public generally agreed that Tung Chung has potential to be further developed and to improve the facilities, etc. There's different opportunities and restraints. Actually, the electrical paper has mentioned the constraints and opportunities. I don't want to go into the detail. Now, there are several principles. We hope to meet the housing needs and we want to improve connectivity. We want to provide balanced allocation of facilities and open space. Now for Tung Chung West and Tung Chung East, for Tung Chung East, there's a potential for 120 hectares for reclamation. We'll consider the navigation channel, ecology, and the noise. And for Tung Chung West, to the west, you can see that for Tung Chung Bay, this ecologically sensitive area. We hope not to affect the seawater flow, so there can be 14 hectares for reclamation. We will consider the overall situation of the new town. So MTR connectivity is important. So for Tung Chung East, Tung Chung West, we'll have MTR station, and then we'll have a walkway, and we'll have cycle tracks. We'll try to connect the new town. Now for the planning concept, we hope to enhance the connectivity. We want to have view corridors. And for Tung Chung East, there are two themes. One is livable town, 410,000 population with 38,000 flats near to the Tung Chung East MTR station. The plot ratio will be 5 and 6 for residential units. And then facing to the sea, we have a stepped building height profile. The PR will be 3 to 4. And we'll consider the community facilities with different facilities. We have a sports ground and park area. And theme 2, we consider the geographical advantages that we have more space for commercial development. So we have 15 hectares for commercial use. We have 33,000 flats to satisfy 95,000 people. And make good use of MPR station. Say PR5, we can have more intensive development. However, in different places, we will provide community facilities. And for Tung Chung West, we have ecologically sensitive area. You can look at the pictures. And we will conserve the places with ecological values, and we will try to develop certain places of potential. So we have some farmed land, and near to the MTL Tung Chung West station, we have some places. 14 hectares can be reclaimed for Tung Chung Bay Northeast. For Tung Chung West, in terms of conservation and development, will strike a balance. There will be 15,000 flats to satisfy 43,000 people. There's the initial land use option. Members can consider that it's just a tentative stage, and we'll collect public views for the second stage, public engagement. And then we'll enhance and optimize these proposals. We have started consultation, and starting from tomorrow, we'll have district consultation. At the end of June and early July, there will be community workshops and the public forum. Thank you. Members' questions? 4 minutes each, including administration's answers. Mr. Chen Hongban, regarding the proposal, especially Tung Chung West, it takes on certain proposals of the DAB. There's for Tung Chung Bay, it can be kept untouched, and for limited reclamation, we need to investigate that further. And certain DB suggestions have been taken on. For example, 16 hectares for promenade, and Tung Chung West Station and Ma On Chung. So we welcome the fact that they have taken on our suggestion. Now a question. Paragraph 13G talks about the balanced mix of public and private housing. for the whole Tung Chung. You know that in the past, we have the HOS converted to public housing. So for Tung Chung, we only have public and private housing. For this kind of change ratio, public housing, private housing, etc. Can you give the respective ratio, etc.? Secondly, we want a balanced development. People don't have to work in other urban areas, but if we want a balance, we need overall planning. Early on, I asked the administration to set up a Lantau development committee, but of course, it's no go. So when will the administration set up the Lantau Island Development Committee? Do you have to wait for everything to be developed? Then you start that committee. Then what's the use of having that committee by then? Please answer these questions. Perhaps the planning department can answer the first question about composition and the ratio. Now, for the first stage of public engagement, we listen to views from the district people, etc. For the options now, we hope to take care of these sort of views in terms of balance. Public housing and private ratio in Tung Chung is 60 to 40. Perhaps the proportion of public housing is higher. Now for the new planning for Tung Chung East and Tung Chung West, we hope that it can be 40 to 60. We hope that overall for housing, we can have a more balanced mix. But of course, the actual ratio for housing, for the actual distribution, how much is public housing, how much is HOS, how much is private housing, we don't have details yet. We have to listen to views of the public. And then at the next stage, we'll deepen our proposals, and then we have further proposals, and at that stage, we can be more concrete about this. Mr. Chairman, about overall Lantau Island development. Now we're talking about the concept plan for Lantau. For the concept plan, say, for Tung Chung New Town Extension Study, so this is part of the concept plan. So for this second stage public engagement, and for further public engagements, we hope to take on more public views. As for other issues of North Lantau, in future there may be certain developments. For example, land and enhancements studies. How about the Lantau Development Committee? When will it be set up for North Lantau development? Now, because of these studies, we are conducting public engagement exercises. At this stage, we don't have any plan to have some sort of coordinating committee. But later on, when we complete planning, and when planning is an advanced stage, then we'll have the more appropriate arrangements. Well, I'm worried. Time's up, Mr. Leung Chi-Cheung. Thank you. Now I've read these initial options for the new reclamation. In relation to residential premises, I'm in favor of that. Now, for the places near the sea, the inland views will not be blocked. I think for this sort of design is one of the directions for future. Because when we build a new town or develop a new town, we hope to be environmentally friendly. For this sort of density or intensity, when it goes to the deeper area, actually it's deep brown, it's about 6. I think it's somewhat higher. Usually it's 4 to 5. If it's 6, heights will be 40 to 50 stories. What do you think about that? And for population, it's quite intensive. It's more than 90,000. According to the present population is 220,000. It's quite a densely populated new town. We have to take care of several things. First, traffic connectivity. Now you use the MTR. Now please don't forget for the MTR station, there is still a need for connectivity. Please consider the emissions. For example, electric vehicles can be used. Secondly, for certain designs, public and private housing ratio, you have not been specific. You want to listen to the public. There's a marina. In terms of concept, it's true that the private users will be greater. You have a marina, it's neither here nor there. You have the berths for the marina. If it's surrounded by public housing, it's neither fish nor fowl. So you must have appropriate arrangements. Mr. Chan Hong-ben mentioned another point. Now you have taken on the idea of the DAB. That one thing is very important. There's employment. Of course, for the airports, the employment opportunities are quite good. Some councillors said that the employment opportunities are there. But you talk about more than 200,000 people. The population may be doubled. It's true that you still have job opportunities. Apart from commercial, how about high-tech industries? I suggest that you should put in certain high-tech industries to attract some middle-class families, which then can move in. Yes, several questions. First, traffic and transport connectivity. We agree with Mr. Leung. Now, for the Tung Chung New Town, about 250,000, 275,000, etc. Actually, this kind of population increase is quite substantial. So in terms of transport infrastructure and arrangements, we have to be very careful. Of course, in terms of MTR, the smart transit system, so in future there's a major mode of transport. This is the backbone. So you can see that for present Tung Chung Station, Tung Chung East and Tung Chung West will have two stations respectively. Connected with these stations, we have sound road networks. Of course, when we deal with these kind of road networks, we look at the North Lantau traffic flow. We appreciate that this is very important, and we move along that direction. We have some detailed technical assessments. Second question about the marina. Will it mean that we attach more importance to private housing? I hope members can note that for our two themes. Tung Chung is the livable town and economic vibrancy. For the marina, for first stage public engagement, we listen to public views. Some members of the public said that for Tung Chung, it has beautiful scenery and maritime scenery. So if we have a marina, it will also be good, and it will be an attractive point. Of course, when we deal with the marina, there must be some sort of economic support facilities. So our second theme is economic vibrancy. So we propose a marina. And in relation to the marina, for this theme of economic vibrancy, in terms of planning of commercial space, will enhance that 450,000 square meters to the two parts. Apart from retail uses, we also have a large-scale office space facilities. So it ties in with what Mr. Leung said. We hope to encourage the people offer more job opportunities for people in Tung Chung, and some outside activities can be brought into Tung Chung. Then the economic vitality of Tung Chung can be strengthened. Mr. Chung, to declare my interest, I'm a member of the Islands District Council. The District Council doesn't have an agenda item. It seems that let's go discuss it first. I hope that sometimes the district can have more deliberations first. Now for Tung Chung East reclamation, we are open-minded. But you have to see if Tai Ho Wan is a factor in terms of ecological value or scenery. As for Tung Chung West, well, we have 14 hectares of reclamation at the corner of the sea. I'm not an environmental expert, but you can answer that Area 39 behind Yatung Estate, maybe public housing or special school may be built there. Now there's a space. You can have low-rise buildings near to Tung Chung West station. Well, actually, there's a breezeway. The breezeway, the alignment will be strict. That will clash with reclamation. Tung Chung West for the 14 hectares. There will be a clash. So please explain that. Since we have the breezeway restraint, why is it that you still want to have 14 hectares of reclamation? In terms of planning, in terms of coordination, please answer that.
Secondly, if in the end you do not pass the EIA, then and there won't be any reclamation to Tung Chung West, will you still build the Tung Chung West MTR station? And finally, if there is a shortage of housing units, private or public, in Tung Chung, and you have a timetable for reclamation, so on the existing government land available, will you be, providing infrastructures and facilities on such land? First of all, we understand that we know about the ecology at Tai Ho Wan is a very sensitive area. That's why we tried our best to avoid this area, and we've actually rationalized the scale of reclamation in Tung Chung East. Of course, this would we still have to carry out ecological assessment before we come up with the final option. Regarding the reclamation at Tung Chung West, whether or not it would affect the breezeway, when the preliminary proposal from the consultant is that the breezeway was designed in the light of the development in Tung Chung West, but the situation has now changed. Originally, it was thought that if we will have reclamation in this area, it would not have any adverse impact on ventilation. Of course, when we say this, we have to. It would depend on where exactly are we going to reclaim reclamation to Tung Chung West, and how much housing we're going to build. What is the distance in between the different buildings? I think this will have. Depend on the further work that we do before we can give you a concrete answer. Regarding the Tung Chung West MTR station, if you had paid attention to the railway development strategy conducted by the Highways Department, there is already a proposal to build a Tung Chung West station. So I think we've made the comparison, and we came up with this proposal for reclamation at Tung Chung West. We believe that this is a proposal that would be convenient to the residents. I don't know whether Mr. Tang has any other question. Eventually, if you're not going to reclaim even a single hectare of land at Tung Chung West, would there still be a Tung Chung West station? The proposed reclamation is 14 hectares. And other than the 14 hectares of land at Tung Chung West, you'll notice that along Tung Chung Road, we also have some proposed residential development. So Mr. Tang refers to Area 39 and Yatung Estate. I think we have a large number of residential units there. So at the present stage, we don't see the need to link up the EIA with the proposal to build the MTR station. Mr. Wu Chi-wai. Of course, this is only a very preliminary proposal about the future development of Tung Chung. However, I'd like to make two observations. First of all, I hope that you can conduct some analysis using the housing department's procedure for, relocating the residents to Tung Chung. You have to find out whether or not, only from the supply perspective, do you have to find out whether the residents really want to move into Tung Chung and live there. In considering the ratio between public and private housing, you must bear this in mind. Otherwise, you'll be repeating the same, scenario where people are forced to move into Tung Chung and then have to face problems in terms of employment, transportation, and schooling for the children. I hope you will do some homework first. Secondly, of course, I'm concerned that after you have 220,000 people living in Tung Chung, how are you going to generate the commercial activities? I can imagine that whatever you do, the majority of the residents living there will have to take the mass transit system to go to the other districts for employment. So I hope you can give us some basic information. Although it's mentioned in your paper, you've told us that basically they will be retail and catering facilities. If that's the case, you have to consider the purchasing power of the residents who will move into the area. Otherwise, you will not be able to, to result in a balance. So this is an economic consideration, and I think you need to give us more details. So thirdly, the transport facilities within Tung Chung, I would like to encourage you to, given Tung Chung is the whole of Tung Chung is flat land, so I hope you will be able to provide for point-to-point connection for cyclists. That would be more practical, and you can also help to preserve the natural environment and the ecology in the area. Thank you, Mr. Wu, for your comments. Regarding the ratio between public and private housing, Mr. Wu asked whether or not I suggest that we should consider whether the residents are willing to move into Tung Chung. I'll certainly take this up with the housing department. Secondly, regarding the 220,000 people who will live in the new town, and how will the commercial facilities in the area going to operate in future? Right now, we have two themes: livable city and economic vibrancy. The basic theme, to a very large extent, is that we'll be considering local shopping for the local population, whether it's to provide shopping convenience or employment opportunities for local residents. Except that the second theme, economic vibrancy, we are increasing the GFA for the housing developments in order that we can bring in more regional retail facilities and commercial activities, including hotels, so that other than providing employment for the people in the area, we also want to increase the economic vibrancy there. Thirdly, regarding the transport arrangements within the district, Mr. Wu suggests that we should make more use of the cycling tracks for point-to-point transport. We certainly consider, providing for cycling tracks and pedestrians. Members, I understand that members are very, very interested in this topic, and we still have 6 members yet to speak. We're scheduled to finish at 6:30, and we will extend by, but I have the power as the chairman to extend the meeting by 15 minutes, so I'm afraid we'll have to stop at 6:45. So we have 6 more members to speak now, starting with Fernando Zhang. Regarding the preliminary study on the Tung Chung New Town extension, I'm first of all concerned about the proposal for further reclamation, because reclamation does have an impact on the environment and the ecology. We believe that while you say that the economic value at Tung Chung East may not be very high, but still, we're talking about a large project. The area to be reclaimed is quite large. The ecological value at Tung Chung West is higher. It's more sensitive, and Tung Chung River had also had incidents of flooding. So if you're going to have further reclamation, I think the area around Tung Chung River has already been suffered from damages. A few years ago, when there were heavy rainstorms, there was serious flooding. So will there be any further impact if you're going to carry out reclamation there? Secondly, the air quality in Tung Chung overall, it's rather poor. I believe this has to do with its proximity to the airport, or whether or not the pollutants actually come from the PRD region. Many people feel that if you go to Tung Chung, which is near the rural area, the air quality should be good. But actually, Tung Chung is one of the areas in Hong Kong with the worst air quality. So in this area, if we are to increase its population size, would that be appropriate? Is there a problem with your choice here? And we have to consider what measures we can carry out to improve the air quality at Tung Chung. I think we should do that first before we extend the new town. Next, the ratio between public and private housing. We now say that in Hong Kong, many people live in subdivided flats. We heard that 170,000 people live in subdivided flats, and therefore we need more land to build more public housing units for the economically deprived. But whenever a site is available, the government will tend to opt for private development. This time the ratio is 40 to 60. We don't know of the 40% how many will be HOS, how many will be PRH. We've just discussed the Quarry Bay Anderson Road site. The ratio is 80 to 20. You're even more inclined towards the private development. So I think there's a problem here. Previously, you have the concept of self-sufficiency when you develop a new town. So I'm concerned about the employment issue. If you move additional 100,000 people into Tung Chung, what's going to happen to that? How do you tackle the problem of employment for these people? We have 20 minutes left, and I'll read out the names of members who are in the queue. Mr. Chung Ha, McMay Kuhn, Ka-lok, and Mr. Fan. So we really need to, be succinct. I'd like to talk about the question of reclamation and EIA. Thank you. Well, I think we already said that in light of the environment, as I said, in Tung Chung West, given the environment there and the conservation value, we have drastically reduced the proposed size of the reclamation. Tung Chung East, as we've said, has a lower ecological value, and therefore we believe that we can carry out reclamation there. Mr. Zhang also asked about air quality. Air quality is one of the essential aspects of the EIA. And in 2012, the government announced new air quality objectives. We will follow the new AQOs to conduct the EIA for Tung Chung New Town. We need to comply with the standard before we will pass the EIA. Thank you. Ms. Chen Yun Han. Chairman, this is an area which I know very well. Of course, you're going to stop reclamation but along that river, there's a lot of flooding. It's a green belt. At the site where people have barbecue pits, they're now building luxury apartments. So you need to be careful. I'm worried that in the green belts, you need to protect the green belts. Now that we're in phase 2, I hope we can maintain it. Well, this place is very important to me. I've been able to recover my health because I hike along the trail in Tung Chung. If you do not, label this as a green belt, many people will object. The area outside Tung Chung is really beautiful. There's a lot of mangroves there. It's really beautiful. I hope you understand what I'm saying. I'm talking about Tung Chung West. So this is the point I like to stress. If you're going to build luxury apartments there, it's beautiful. The scene there is very beautiful. Obviously, there's also serious noise nuisance. So this is a question you have to ensure. I'm afraid that after the consultation, that will disappear. And then about Tung Chung East near Dai Ho Chung. When you answer Mr. Tan Ka Piu's question, you said you'll be careful. Well, the bay there is also very beautiful. Of course, from Sunny Bay to the bays in Tung Chung, I think you have to stick to the present policy. I've been followed up on the development area for almost 2 decades. And so both myself and my colleagues in the trade union are concerned about the development of Tung Chung. If you are going to, for things, so I think I will closely monitor what will happen to this area. My question is, after the phase 2 public engagement, there will be drastic changes in Tung Chung West and Tung Chung East. Well, of course, you can still continue consultation. I think you should consult people who do hiking in the area will share my view. We've heard Ms. Chan's view very carefully. In stage 2 of the public engagement, we will try our best to strive for a consensus within the community. Personally, I agree that at Tung Chung West, that's an area where you have high ecological value. Not only the scenery beautiful there, it has a very high ecological value. So the whole consultant team has suggested we shouldn't touch that area. So what we're now proposing is such that we are not proposing to carry any reclamation in the area. Regarding Tung Chung East, that will be the inlet for Tai Ho Bay. We understand that near the inlet, in the inner bay, there we hope to be able to preserve it as well. We don't want the reclamation works to move eastwards any further. We're now conducting phase 2 of the public engagement exercise, and after that, we will further work on the EIA, and also we will, study all the views received before we work out on the outline zoning plan, and if you think that there's anything that problematic, you can approach us. So if you should make any changes, please inform the district council and us accordingly. Like other members, I'm also very concerned about the proposal. Although we're talking about the Tung Chung New Town development extension, but I don't think we should overlook the development of the entire Lantau Island. I don't think the consultation should be truncated, otherwise it wouldn't work. I think the extension of the Tung Chung New Town, I think members are concerned about the question of connectivity with the other parts of the territory, and also members raised the issue of the economy there and employment. Of course, with more people moving into the new town, you have to cater to the employment needs of these people living there. If it's focused on only on a certain particular industries, then it would not work. You also need to consider carefully the ratio between private and public housing development. Otherwise, Tung Chung will become a second Tin Shui Wai, and I don't want to see this happening.
I've got a few questions here. I think in 1998, the administration released some information about the projected noise contours. So I want to know more about that. At the time, you have said that any sites falling within the noise contour of 25, there shouldn't be any residential development. So I think you need to consider this parameter as well. And then, of course, the logistics park is outside the study area, but whether the logistics park is going to be built or not will certainly have a bearing on your development. Would it be built by the government or not? And then another point is that in the past there was this proposal to build a container port, that is container port number 10 or number 11, to the west of Ka-lok or where. I think there was some big idea about that. I want to know whether that is still on the drawing board or not, is it? Who from the administration will answer the question? Please be concise. Yes, let me give an answer to the overall development of Lantau. I think the member is right. We should look at Lantau Island as a whole. For Tung Chung, we are more focused in the study. This is because we have reached a stage to extend the development of Tung Chung New Town. According to the Lantau concept plan, we already planned for a population of over 200,000 for Tung Chung. Currently, the population is still 120,000 being planned, but the actual population is less than 100,000. So we want to know how we should develop Tung Chung. We want to find out about the optimal option. For the rest of Lantau, as far as the conceptual plan is concerned, we do have certain indications, but in the vicinity of Tung Chung, you can find the conceptual plan on our website. We aren't going to have a container port near Tung Chung. In the very early days, there was a suggestion to have it in the northeast of Lantau. But then that would be near to where the Disneyland Park is. Well, according to the latest version of the conceptual plan, it should be in another location rather than near Tung Chung. For employment and noise, I think another member can answer the question. Maybe in the interest of time, the answer can be given to us after the meeting. There are many questions, so it will be difficult to expect answers to all the questions. I try to assist. I'm asking a similar question. Ask shorter questions. First of all, Mr. Tenkapil has already said that it is transport and traffic would be very important in the development of any new town. So I hope the administration will pay special attention to the location of the railway stations. And then, as Ms. Chen Yunhan has said, Tung Chung has a beautiful coastline. I just wonder whether we can have some cycling paths so as to take us to North Lantau Highway. Can we also not have a pier to accommodate the bicycles so that Tung Chung can be a place where we have bicycles as an equal form of public transport and to develop ecotourism there? As the Deputy Chair has said, we hope that there will be a certain degree of economic activities in Tung Chung New Town. Now, you may think that Tung Chung is very near to the airport. It's easy to find jobs there, but then you still have to pay for your transport expenses, and you need to be on shift. So I hope that when it comes to planning, you pay special attention to connectivity. Now, this is part of the public engagement exercise. I hope that the administration will have a mechanism to report to us in time. Could you answer the question? Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll give a brief reply. Transport. We certainly subscribe to Ms. Alex Mack's point. That is, both internal and external traffic would play a very important role in the further development of Tung Chung New Town. Tung Chung residents found it very costly to go out to work. So other than Tung Chung Station, we are proposing 2 more MTR stations, and then there will be a road network and waterfront promenade to support the railway network. The waterfront promenade will be for public enjoyment, and it will also serve as a linkage to different parts of Tung Chung. As to the idea of cycling paths, we are open-minded. We want the public to tell us as to how we can make Tung Chung into a livable town. As to economic activities, I think just now there are many comments on that. Other than local jobs, we also hope that there will be a greater element of employment on a territorial basis. As to the airport noise, please turn to page 10, and that's the NEF 25, so you can have a look at that. Mr. K.K. Kwok, when the administration carries out planning, it is sometimes viewed as being absurd. It's like the government is planning for a development on a planet. They have been waiting for a hospital for many years, but it lacks an A&E department. You have to wait for another year. There isn't a market other than the one provided by the link. You've only got the Swire. Now, let's not talk about the future. For those already living there, will there be a market run by the FHD? No answer has been given. Transport. Yes, of course, there is public transport, but it will cost you over $20 for a trip. They never think realistically. For the conceptual plans, they always look nice. But then please consider that we need to make a place habitable. Now, the living cost is high, the transport cost is high, the price is also high because they haven't got markets other than that run by the link. So please answer this question first before I move on. Mr. Chen. You don't know how to answer the question? Then in this case, just let me continue with my questions. For Tung Chung East, I think the problem is smaller than that at Tung Chung West with mangrove. by truncating the water course, there will be a difficulty. The ecological environment there will be greatly affected. Yes, you are not going to remove all of it, but then by truncating the water course, sooner or later the mangrove will die. And then you have talked about fallow agricultural land. So of course I'm talking about the land on the hillside. It is said that the land there can be used, but I really want to know whether you must reclaim at the site proposed. Can you not move closer to the land? So please skip the Tung Chung Bay and Tung Chung River. Let me answer the first question. That is in relation to the community facilities at Tung Chung. Of course, we'll try to talk to the relevant bureaus and departments to make sure that in future, when they develop, the community facilities will be adequate and relevant. For market, we will talk to the relevant department. It all depends on the actual needs. As to the mangrove, as well as the fallow agricultural land, I would like to defer it to my colleague. For Tung Chung West, I don't think the existing mangrove coverage will be affected. For Tung Chung River, Dr. Kwok is wondering whether there will be impact on the river. Please go to page 25 of our consultation document. On either side of Tung Chung River, as we are aware of the conservation value, and therefore we are going to have a green belt to act as a buffer, so that the impact of future development will be minimized. As to the idea to use the fallow agricultural land instead of having reclamation, we are giving consideration to both. If you go to the plan on page 25, you can see that on the eastern bank of the river, other than villages, we have also got some low-rise developments. So we are proposing such an idea. We hope the public can tell us what is the way forward. Mr. Chairman, why not PRH? Why low-rise? Is it for the property developers? No. In Tung Chung, we want to have a healthy community. So other than high-density developments, we also like to introduce some variations. For the low-rise or the low-density development, it will try to balance the remaining part. For Tung Chung West, we have some higher rise buildings other than Tung Chung Road, well, near to the MTR station in Area 39. There are two big sites which will be developed on the basis of a PR of 5 and 6. Last to speak, Mr. Fan. I'll be concise. I don't think other members have asked this question. For the development of the new town, for whom will it be built, whether we want to adopt the theme of livable town or economic vibrancy. I want to know to what extent are we going to apply Hong Kong land for Hong Kong residents? If not 100%, why not? Well, for the new towns, all the new towns, they are all planned for the people of Hong Kong. As to the question asked by Mr. Fan, I think we did give an account earlier on. For the policy of Hong Kong land for Hong Kong people, whenever we offer a site for disposal, we'll look at the market circumstances to decide whether we would have it as Hong Kong land for Hong Kong people, like the two sites in Kai Tak. So at this stage, we don't have a hard and fast rule as to how much land in the future will be subsumed under the policy of Hong Kong land for Hong Kong people. But whenever we carry out the planning, it is for the housing needs and overall development needs of Hong Kong. It takes a long time to develop the new town, and we have to get a long-term population policy. Now, you said that you will look at the circumstances prevailing. I don't think you lack the parameters for planning, and you won't all out of a sudden get a huge increase in the local population. If you don't have such an idea, then you can't have proper planning. We are really worried. Of course, you will say that it's a new town for the people of Hong Kong. Well, what Mr. Fan is saying is that for the Tung Chung new town we are planning, he wants to know about the basis of our planning. Earlier on, we have the planning vision for 2030. We have already said that we need space for our future population growth and our development. We understand that there is a tight supply, so we need to carry out long-term planning. Certainly, this is for the development of the society of Hong Kong. Mr. Fan was specific in his question. That is the policy of Hong Kong land for Hong Kong people. Now, of course, when there is a site available for disposal, then we will add a condition in the lease conditions. We are not yet at the stage of land disposal, so we can't be 100% sure. So it can range from 0 to 100%. We don't even have a probable range. You don't even have a rough idea. Mr. Chairman, this is a PEE for planning. So the purpose is to listen to the views of the public in relation to the initial planning options. Mr. Fan's view has been heard. We are now doing some land use planning. It will only be at the next stage that we can be more specific. And then we have the proposed OZP. Then we know where we are going to have housing land. And then we can be more certain about the proposals. Well, many people think that there is a shortage of housing land. You should have all the land for Hong Kong people. I can at most extend it to 50 minutes. I've already made full use of my power. Mr. Chairman, who would like to ask questions? A or B? I've already used up all the time, so I need to say that this is it. A or B? Mr. Chairman, we've written to you talking about public space that arose from the case of Cheung Kong Center. That's about public space being occupied. So at our next meeting, can you not deal with this issue? Yes, this can be done. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If there aren't other issues, then meeting adjourned. Thank you.